time for Tiger Talk on the Tiger Sports Network. Tiger Talk, live from Tiger Club inside the Robins Center on the Fort Hays State Campus, is brought to you by these premier Tiger sponsors. Golden Belt Bank of Hayes and Ellis, banking one story at a time. The Hayes Med Orthopedic Institute, expertise, technology, compassion, all right here. Adams Brown, strategic allies and CPAs, going above and beyond for you. BTI, your John Deere dealer, with locations in Buckland, Great Bend, Greensburg, Hoxie, Ness City, and Pratt. BTI, our family in partnership with your family. The Taco Shop, dine in, carry out, or delivery. Since 1970, you've never had it so good. And Eagle, our community connected. Tiger Talk with the voice of the Tigers, Gerard Wellbrock.
And good afternoon and welcome into Tiger Talk. We are live at the Robins Center on the Fort Hays State University campus. Certainly glad to have you with us. Glad to be back after last week's hiatus on the program for spring break. Good to have you back. We're going to have a little combination of winter and spring sports. We'll be wrapping up the basketball season. We'll talk with Coach Talia Cars of the women and Mark Johnson of the Tiger men after their trips to the NCAA tournament. Just the second time both have made the NCAAs in the same season. And we'll recap the regional tournament and the seasons with both of those. That'll be coming up a little bit later on in the program. Brian Flax, head tennis coach for Fort Hays State. He'll be joining us here in just a little bit. We'll get you up to date with the tennis season so far. And Jason McCullough, track and field coach, will recap the indoor season. Good showing for the Tigers at the national championships down in Pittsburgh, and then preview the outdoor season. They've got a meet coming up on Friday, so we'll do all of that. Of course, you can submit a question. Go to the FHSU Athletics website, click on fans. You'll get the drop down. You'll see Ask the Coach. Submit your question. If we use it, a chance to win a T-shirt from the Fort Hays State Athletic Department. We're going to update you on some of the sports we're not talking with today, let you know what they're up to and how they're going. But do need to remind you, no program and no show next week. There is a conflict with the room here at the Robins Center, so no Tiger Club and no Tiger Talk next Wednesday. We'll resume in 2 weeks. So make that note. If you come out here next Wednesday, well, we won't have a program. Maybe you can squeeze into whatever's going on out here, but no show next Wednesday here on Tiger Talk. Before we get to tennis, let's update you on a few other sports. Tiger softball, they're actually playing today. They're at Flehardy Family Field, doubleheader with Colorado School of Mines. That'll get underway at 1 o'clock today. They've won 4 in a row, swept Rockhurst in their home opener last Wednesday, won 2-1 in 8 innings and 2-0, and then last Thursday swept Bethany 7-2 and 8-5. So they're now 13-11. Doubleheader today with the Orediggers of Colorado School of Mines, and then they resume MIAA play in Kearney with a doubleheader on Saturday afternoon. Tiger baseball swept at Central Oklahoma over the weekend, 8-2, 8-4, and 9-1. They're now 18-9, 6-7 in the conference, tied for 6th right now with Rogers State. They're on the road again this weekend. They've got a 3-game series at number 3 Central Missouri. That'll be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Warrensburg. The Mules ranked 3rd in the country, 23-4, tied for the MIAA lead with Missouri Southern at 11-2. Tiger baseball at home next Tuesday, and that's going to be our first broadcast game of the season on KAYS. We'll have the single game with Newman coming up on Tuesday afternoon, and then the Tigers at home next weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They bumped it up a day because of Easter. Women's golf, Morgan Brasser winning her 5th individual tournament title. Finished 1 over at the Midwest Intercollegiate Invitational in Bolivar, Missouri. Team finished 7th out of 15. They're at the Missouri Western Holiday Inn Express Invitational. That'll be Monday and Tuesday in St. Joe. Men's team off this weekend. They'll be at the NSIC preview meet on Monday and Tuesday in Blue Springs, Missouri. We'll be getting the golf coaches on in a couple of weeks. And wrestling wrapped up their year. Terrius Henry went 1-2 at the Nationals in Park City. Won his first match by sudden victory. Lost his second by fall, then lost his third match by a sudden victory. So good run for Terrius Henry, ending at the Nationals in Park City. We're live at the Robins Center. It's Tiger Talk on this Wednesday. We'll take our first break. When we come back, we'll talk some tennis with Brian Flax. That's next. You're listening to the Tiger Sports Network, built by PwC.
The Golden Q is the place for football and food. Friday night, when your team is out of town, stop in for your favorite burger and watch the game. Want to enjoy the game from home, but still eat the Golden Q's tasty food? Use their app to place an order to go, or use DoorDash. Then, when it's time to blow off some steam, head to the Fort, duck pin, bowling, axe throwing, VR, and check out their huge outdoor patio. Book a party room for your group or host a large gathering at the Fort. The Golden Q and the Fort in Hayes.
Now a steal by Emma Ruddle. Ruddle out ahead of the pack. She's going to lay it up with the right hand and score. Timeout, Northwest Missouri State.
Yeah, some of the action from last Friday. The Tiger women in the Division II Central Regional down in Bethany, Oklahoma. We'll talk with women's coach Talia Kars here shortly. Tiger Talk, need to remind you, Kansas Department of Transportation and the Drive to Zero Coalition invite you to join Tiger fans with a plan. If you're going to be drinking, always designate a sober driver. We're joined by tennis coach Brian Flax. Our first chance to visit with him as the Tigers have moved into the spring season. Appreciate you joining us. I know you're a little bit under the weather, but appreciate you giving us an update. Off and running here in the spring season, and I know you get a lot of matches backed up. Right now, you're sitting at 5-3. You've got a lot of new faces on the team. Just maybe give us an overview of how things have gone since you've gotten out to the courts here this spring.
Yeah, it's gone really well. I was thinking about our first match was all the way back February 17th, which seems like a long time ago. But we've had some weather, which we always deal with. I think one of our matches has been postponed 3 times so far. But
maybe it's not meant to be.
it might not be. But the team's we're coming together nicely. I think our road trip a couple of weekends ago out at Colorado, we played CSU Pueblo and got a good tough 4-3 win. And then, I wouldn't say we played our best, but we did enough to win. And then the next day, went out and played Metro State, and I thought we really stood toe-to-toe with those folks and gave these younger kids a first time at the Division II level a chance to see what tennis at this level is all about. So we have a great schedule coming up, and I think we're trending in the right way.
You look at your roster, and you have some of the names we knew from last year, but you've got a highly international flair on the roster this year.
Yeah, the other night I couldn't sleep, so I got my phone out and started looking where all these countries are at. And I found everyone but Belgium. And my Belgian girl said it's up by Germany.
Yeah,
so,
it's up there, yeah.
They're a different group, guys, I'll tell you. Usually I used to always, if I had one international, I thought, I got one. And then all of a sudden to adopt 5 more, I'm 54. I don't know about these, but no, they're a good group. They work hard. They come over here. They're not playing 2 or 3 sports. Over there in their country, their goal is to get over here. And Jason and all the other coaches that deal with internationals, they understand that. But it's a long process. I remember my girl from India, or when I first time I saw her name, it's Sharithika. It's about 40 letters according to me. And right away I was late, and I'm recruiting her and talking to her at 3:30 in the morning because of the time change. I designated she was going to be Cherie really fast before she even got to the U.S. So, no, they're a good group, and they're learning. They're not just learning about tennis. They're learning about the culture. I have one of my Belgian girl, in fact, today is leaving with a student group to go to Washington, D.C. With some group here on campus. And she was telling us, hey, I get to meet our senator. So I was Senator Moran, Senator Marshall. Yes, we're in Great Bend the other week, Plainville's here, to kind of give her a little bit. I don't think she retained any of it.
Probably not, but that's really cool.
I tried.
Yeah. You mentioned the process. How do you go about even finding these players? Because you look around, college tennis, and certainly in the MIAA, there is a big international flair. Where do you even begin? What's the process for all of this?
To be honest with you, for the most part, they find you. They get these recruiting services that their parents pay to help them get to America and get the best scholarship. It's pretty simple from there. And then it comes down to anybody that coaches knows it comes down to the dollar signs.
Yeah.
And but it's a long process because it's like they're talking to you, but they're talking to them, and they're talking to them. Oh, I'll get back to you in a week because I'm going out of town. And they're on the, it's a game. It's a game, and I had my graduate assistant Johnny from last year was really good, and we just kind of got on this, and there's a lot of them. People ask me that all the time. How do you get somebody from here? It's pretty simple. They reach out, and then you start
talking.
Start finagling, as they say.
There you go. Yeah, and you mentioned, I'm sure when they come over, it's. I mean, obviously they're well versed in tennis, but learning, obviously America and Western Kansas and all those things. I'm sure the fall was interesting to get a lot of them acclimated and just with so many things just in their life that's new and having to adjust to.
Yeah, in the fall, especially with the heat.
Yeah.
And my girl from India, she does not wear shorts. She always wears like the leggings, the tights. She was more concerned with the mosquitoes and the bugs, type of a thing. But yeah, the heat, it's a different kind of, different type of a deal. But yeah, just the culture, learning things. I know a lot of my girls on my team work concession stands, and a lot of the people out here.
Right.
I tell you what, I've seen a broom used a lot of different ways trying to clean up a mess. I said, whoa. Sweep toward you. Yeah, I got a lot of stories.
But, sure.
But no,
we could do a whole show on concession stands, I bet.
I tell you what. Yeah. But no, but they're learning, and a lot of it is too is that they don't always necessarily understand. They're coming over there. It was them. There was no middle school team. There was no Hayes High, TMP. There was no team. It was, okay, I'm going to go to the club, and my coaches are going to make me better to get to America to play. And so coming over here and understanding a team concept, understanding, hey, we all wear the same uniform on game, the same stuff. We all do the same warm-up the same way. Things that we, for the most part, take for granted, they look at me sometimes like, why do we have to be like that, And the other day we scrimmaged the team, and at the end of when the matches are played, as they get done, the teams normally stand out and cheer for everybody. Well, the other team that we were playing, there was nobody on the other court. They were over there playing checkers and whatever else. And I made that point to the kids. I said, hey, look, this is us. This is how other people do it. Right or wrong, this is how we're going to do it, and this is how they do it. And hopefully that they saw that and it sunk in, hopefully.
All right, let's talk real quick. You're going to be on the road Friday in Kansas City, Rockhurst, and then Saturday, Bethel and North Newton, and then next Wednesday, a scrimmage with Pratt. Talk a little bit about that Rockhurst match and what to expect in that one.
Well, Rockhurst is a really good team, and we get an opportunity to play downtown. They play in the plaza down there. It's been several years since the MIAA held the tournament down there. When they called in the summer, I was like, you bet we're coming. But another good quality team. Perfect timing. Next week we start conference on Friday and Saturday with Emporia and Newman out here Friday and Saturday. So I said we haven't gotten our full team together between sickness and an injury. We're trying to get back. But I really like us going out, and we're not afraid to play anybody. And that's what I'm trying to get through their heads. We're going to play everybody. And then I picked up the Bethel match just so I had a free Saturday. Didn't want to leave an open date and everything like that. But, no, we're getting ready to get into it. We did have Minnesota Mankato out here about 2 weeks ago. They came down and caught us in Northwest Missouri and Missouri Western. And they finished second in the Northern Sun last year. We ended up getting beat 5-2, lost 3 tiebreakers. So we're right in there with a really quality team from the Northern Sun. But we know the MIAA is tough to top to bottom, but we're looking forward to a fun spring season.
All right, sounds good. Brian, as always, we appreciate it. Good luck in Kansas City. Hopefully the weather holds this spring, and it's some good days to play, and you guys make a nice little run, but appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me.
There you go. That's Brian Flax, head tennis coach for the Fort Hays State Tigers. Again, next home action will be on Friday the 29th when they take on Newman. Tiger Talk brought to you today by BTI, your John Deere dealer. Locations in Buckland, Great Bend, Greensburg, Hoxie, Ness City, and Pratt. BTI, our family in partnership with your family. Track coach Jason McCullough joins us after the break here on the Tiger Sports Network, built by PwC.
The Golden Q is the place for football and food. Friday night, when your team is out of town, stop in for your favorite burger and watch the game. Want to enjoy the game from home, but still eat the Golden Q's tasty food? Use their app to place an order to go or use DoorDash. Then when it's time to blow off some steam, head to the Fort, duck pin, bowling, axe throwing, VR, and check out their huge outdoor patio. Book a party room for your group or host a large gathering at the Fort. The Golden Q and the Fort in Hays.
Hollenbeck fires left corner. A three by Wagner. Swish. Tigers' first three of the game. She's got 7. 31-24. Katie Wagner limited in action in the first half because of foul trouble. Has 5 quick ones for the Tigers.
Yeah, more from the Tiger women's win over Northwest Missouri State last Friday. We'll have Coach Talia Cars joining us in the next segment, talk about the regional and a phenomenal season for Fort Hays State. Tiger Talk brought to you in part today by the Taco Shop. Whether you order by phone, use their handy app, dine-in, carry-out, or delivery, you've never had it so good. The Taco Shop, they've been a Hays tradition since 1970. Joined now by Fort Hays State track and field coach Jason McCullough. Their outdoor season wrapped up a couple of weeks ago. Tigers gearing up. They've got a meet coming up on Friday already. We'll get a quick preview of that. But appreciate you joining us again. And great outdoor season. 8 All-Americans, 6 on the men, couple on the women. It was a good indoor season for your guys and gals. And now in that transition mode to get ready for outdoors.
Yeah, and it's always a weird transition because you go from wearing polo shirts to parkas outdoors just because of the weather. But it was a good indoor season. You know, our women finished 3rd in the conference, which was the highest they've ever finished, and the men were 4th, which tied their best ever finish. So real good finishes there, and that's saying something because in our conference we have 7 or 8 teams in the top 25 typically when the rankings come out. And our men were up there. I think our men were 17th or 18th by the end of the year. So, yeah, a lot of All-Americans had the national meet as well. Had some good performances. So really happy with how indoor turned out.
I was going to ask you about that. At the national meet, did everybody kind of perform as you thought they would? And I know you guys kind of go into those things, have an idea, well, if everybody kind of meets what they do, where you plan out to kind of go as you thought it would?
Yeah, it turned out pretty good. By the time you get there, everybody's really good. So that's just a meet in and of itself. So we had a great performance from the distance medley relay. They finished 6th overall, which was a little bit higher than we expect. I think we were 7th going in. Nolan Churchman had a great performance in the heptathlon, was an All-American. And that was, I think he cleared the high jump, his opening height on his 3rd attempt. So he just barely even scored, and he would have not even been an All-American had he not done that. So it takes a little bit of luck as well. We had a few things that didn't go as well. I thought maybe Ethan Lang would do a little better in the 800 meters, but he'd been sick the week before. And then also Hayden Albright was one of the top 400-meter runners, and he got DQ'd. Supposedly cut in on an athlete, and that happens with indoor tracks. They're so short, you cut in. You know, in the 400 outdoors, you stay in your lane. Right. So we're not worried about them outdoors. But indoors, you know, people sometimes they cut in or they flail out, and so he ended up getting disqualified for that, which happens. Actually, it's fairly common.
Right. Well, now as you said, you transition into the outdoor season. What's the hardest transition, or how does that go? Obviously, you're training indoors and you compete indoors. You mentioned the weather, obviously, first and foremost. But what's the biggest transition for now those indoor athletes as they move into the outdoor season?
Yeah, the weather is the big one. You know, you have to deal with the wind and having wind legal marks. So indoors, you don't worry about wind and then weather. So like in events like the pole vault, you know, you can't have a crosswind. You don't want to have too strong of a tailwind. In the sprints, you don't want to have too strong of a tailwind, but you want to have a little bit of a tailwind. And then you're just looking for good weather. And as a coaching staff, it's a struggle too, because we're always trying to maybe move our meet one day up or back, or find places that are going to have good weather. And that's kind of tough to estimate around here.
As you look at your team, I know there's a lot of track and field student athletes, but maybe give us an overview, some events you feel you're going to be really strong in, and just your thoughts going into the outdoor season.
Yeah, and one thing I forgot about our indoor was our two pole vaulters.
Oh, yeah.
And we're looking forward to them outdoors. So Jacob Clark was 8th, and Annabeth Ballman, who barely cleared 11 foot last year, cleared over 13 this year, and she was an All-American placing 8th as well. So we're really looking forward to those two in the vault. We think they have a good chance to do well outdoors as well. We are going to redshirt a couple of our athletes. So Nolan Churchman is going to have surgery. He's had some injuries, and so he's going to redshirt outdoors and have a full year next year. And then Hayden Albright will do the same thing. Okay. And this is kind of a result of the COVID year, where they had they had an indoor but not an outdoor, and then vice versa the next year. So this is kind of evening things out, okay. So they have a full season next year. So we're missing a couple of those guys. We should have a real strong middle distance squad. We have 3 800-meter runners that run under 150. And so that's real solid. And we should have some good events in the heptathlon and the decathlon as well still.
Yeah, those you've done really well in. And as we say, you're making that transition. The transition's already kind of here. Friday, you'll have the Spring Invite. You'll have the Alex Francis Classic later in late April, on April 25th. You'll have a couple of meets out at the complex here coming up, beginning on Friday. So they'll get to compete on their home track right out of the gate.
Yeah, we usually have one meet, and we moved it back to late April because of the weather. Mm-hmm. And there were no meets this week that we could find. So early on, we decided we're going to try to host a meet. And if the weather was good, we'd have a meet. If it was not, we'd probably cancel it. So, we're looking forward to this. We're going to have some conference teams here. So Kearney, Washburn, Emporia State, and then there's a few other smaller teams that have part of their team. So like Colby, Northwest Kansas Tech, and then Midland University. I think those are the main teams that are going to be here for this week.
And I see you've got a meet scheduled for out in Long Beach, California, out in Azusa. I know you've made some of those mainly for weather to try to get some good competition days for some of those marks.
Yeah, and that's one thing you have to do outdoors is find the weather, and so you have to travel there and find the competition as well. So you can have good weather and poor competition. You're not going to result in too much either. So we have a couple key meets we're looking for in that 1 week, where we go to Long Beach, and Azusa Pacific is a big one. That's where we get a lot of our national qualifiers from. We'll also take a few to Texas Relays. We'll take a few to the St. Louis Distance Festival next week. And then we have, I believe, University of Colorado. We'll be out there again.
Right.
So we have some good meets, and then we have some smaller meets, closer meets, Emporia State, Nebraska Kearney as well.
Well, it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully the weather holds, and you're due for a nice spring. It seems like the last few have not been very nice, so you're due for some good weather, and hopefully that'll be the case this year.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. And what we tell our athletes, no matter what the weather is, we have to compete. So we're always focused on marks and performances, but the main thing is what Alex Francis used to say, is just beat somebody. So if you beat somebody, the marks, the performances will take care of themselves.
Pretty good advice from a pretty good coach. Jason, as always, we appreciate it. Good luck. Hopefully the weather holds, and it's a nice day on Friday. Looks like it's going to be pretty good for the first outdoor meet of the year out of Fort Hays State. And gets underway at noon, is that right?
Yes.
All right, so if you want to come out and watch, noon on Friday for the FHSU Spring Invite. Appreciate it.
Yep.
I know we'll have you on. Oh, we did, yes. Thank you for reminding me. We did have a question. Almost forgot it. With all of the advancements in footwear, this is kind of interesting. All the advancements in footwear, are there any rules that govern your shoe choices within the MIAA?
So it's usually track by track. In the MIAA, there's not a real rule, but it depends on track. So our spike length can be a 1/4 inch on most tracks, and can be longer for certain events. But international-wise, you hear all about these things called super shoes. They got a lot of cushion, a lot of different things on them. They cost $200-300. Those are allowed. You can wear those, but there's certain ones you can't wear internationally. So if we happen to have an athlete that broke a world record, they probably wouldn't count if they were wearing the super shoes.
Okay.
So.
Well, let's hope that is a problem. We can talk about that.
Yeah, we'll hope so.
Yeah, disqualified because of the shoes, but broke a world record. Jason, we appreciate it. Appreciate the insight. I know we'll have you on the last couple of programs into April. You get into the heart of your season, so we'll be looking forward to the update then, and good luck this Friday.
All right, thanks, Gerard.
There you go. Jason McCullough, track and field coach at Fort Hays State. Again, the FHSU Spring Invite, noon on Friday, and if you're looking down the road, April 25th, the Alex Francis Classic, all here at Fort Hays State. Tiger Talk brought to you in part by Golden Belt Bank. Your life has a story. Golden Belt Bank wants to get to know that story. Golden Belt Bank of Hays and Ellis. Visit them at goldenbeltbank.com. We'll talk with women's basketball coach Talia Cars next. This is the Tiger Sports Network, built by PwC.
Ready to discover something new? The next time you're in your car, Tune your radio to 94.3 FM.
It's here.
It's Hayes' greatest hits.
Love it.
On 1400 KAYS and 94.3 FM. Do you believe in love? Story.
94.3 FM, KAYS. Go ahead, check us out.
There's a pass in the lane, wide open, shot blocked by Hammocky. He blocked the shot of the 6'9" Meister. Here come the Tigers. Nanabu, left baseline, reverse layup, good. And Fort Hays State has their first lead of the game with 15:05 to go. 41-39, a dozen for Nanabu, 8 of them in the second half. Yeah, some of the action for the men's game in the Central Regional against Minnesota Duluth on Saturday. We'll talk with Mark Johnson here shortly, but right now we're talking women's basketball. Coach Talia Carr's joining us. The Tigers going down to Oklahoma. Got a nice win over Northwest Missouri State in the first round. Always a tough task to take a team on you just beat in the conference tournament, and then ran into a buzzsaw in Minnesota State, who, by the way, won that regional and just dismantled Southern Nazarene to make it to their second Elite Eight. In fact, their men won last night on the last second shot over Northwest. So both the Minnesota State men and women going to the Elite Eight this year. And Talia Carr joins us, and it's always, it's kind of obviously a highly successful season, your first, but when it ends in the NCAA and it's so final, it's always tough. You ran into a buzzsaw in that second game, but you got a nice win, and I think when time goes by, you have time to reflect. Obviously, a great season by your squad, and it was nice for them to get back to the NCAA after the frustrations of just not being able to finish things down the stretch last year, to do the right things and find a way to get in this year, made it for a special season. And when the rawness of losing kind of wears off, I think everybody will appreciate the season they had.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we ended the season about as strongly as we could have, and obviously we would have liked to have a couple more wins late in the year, but I was just really proud of the girls' ability to continue just to battle and play against really good teams night in and night out, and show up every single day, and just be really consistent late in the year.
Obviously you had the regional. We did have a show last week. Didn't get a chance to talk. I mean, you made it to the conference tournament championship game, and this year in the MIAA, that is no small feat. It was as challenging and deep of a tournament field, and you had a nice win over Central Missouri, made it a little bit interesting, but you found a way to beat them. They've kind of been a team that's made it tough for you to move on in the conference tournament. You got by Northwest in a big game, and just got to the championship and just kind of felt your team was mentally and physically spent. I mean, they battled and competed and hung in there as best they can, but it just felt like they just couldn't get anything to quite go their way after 2 hard-fought games the days before.
Yeah, no, I think we were definitely tired, and it came down to who was going to be mentally tougher that day, and we didn't get it done, but I thought they did a really good job of staying into it and competing and working through adversity throughout that game, and I thought they just worked really, really hard.
And it was probably in some ways nice too, knowing, I mean, especially after you got the quarterfinal round win. I think you pretty much knew the NCAAs were a lock, and not that took anything away from your team and not wanting to win the MIAA, but when that tournament ends, you've got more basketball. That had to be a little bit different feeling, obviously, knowing there was still more to play, and really what everybody, when they start lacing it up and you get the official practices started in October, and even before that when they arrive on campus, that's the ultimate goal, try to get to the NCAA, and your team found a way and did enough body work throughout the season to get there.
Yeah, no, Sunday going home, it was a nice feeling to know that we were in and not have to be a couple of those teams that didn't know what was going to happen. And so it definitely was a good feeling knowing that we were for sure in, and it was just going to come down to who we were going to play that first round.
And then you get Northwest Missouri State, and that's the one, and we've talked about Division II in the postseason tournament and all of the flaws, and that's probably, other than, I mean, there's teams that don't get in who certainly deserve to get in. With the regionality, you a lot of times you got to face a conference foe. Now, Fort Hays has been fortunate; you haven't had to do that for a while, but that's tough. You just had a hard-fought game on Friday or Saturday in the conference tournament. and you got to come right back around and play them in the first round. And you had lost to them earlier this year. Winning that game's no small feat. That's a tough challenge, especially I think sometimes for the team that's maybe won a couple of the games.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I thought, we still watched film from the game that we lost against them again, even though we had just beat them that Saturday. We still watched that film because they played really good basketball that day, and we didn't. And so we just needed to remember that the team that we saw the Saturday before, maybe not their best team. And so we needed to go in prepared for their best fight. And I think our experience in that setting was huge. Our girls just were ready to go, and they weren't gonna lose. And I thought they did a really good job of being into it and staying focused, and Northwest is a tough team, and we just outmatched them.
Well, and it's kind of interesting because I know before the conference tournament game and probably before the regional game, but we talked about that game in Maryville. They were tougher. Your team didn't adjust to it and match it. You did in Kansas City. You did down in Oklahoma. It was encouraging to see, but your team knew what they had to do, and they obviously answered the bell and did it.
We did a great job of being just as physical as they were, if not more, and just really taking them out of what they were trying to do, and they did. They had switched a couple of things in that week that we didn't play them, and we just stepped up to the challenge and overcame it.
Is that an area maybe for this group, the physicality and the way they played? One of the reasons you were able to finish it down the stretch this year and maybe couldn't do it last year, just seems like they relished that a little bit more than maybe last season.
Yeah, they did, and I think part of it was early in the year we won those close games, and we saw that happen, and so I think that just gives you a little bit more confidence. And then when the game was close, it wasn't something that was like, oh no, we're going to lose this game. It was, you know what, we're in this game, we're going to win this game. And so I think that mentality just started from the beginning, that second weekend when we beat Mesa out there. Yeah. I think it just helped us have that confidence going into those tight games or in those more physical games that they could really just step up and take on that challenge.
And then you had to come back, play Minnesota State, obviously a good team. You beat them early, but their two best players weren't there, and obviously it completely changes their identity, how they play. And it was, as we said, kind of ran into a buzzsaw, and then you add the fact that you probably didn't play your best, and you give your team credit. They were battling and trying to fight, just so tough against them. It's almost like, they make a lot of mistakes.
They do.
But they just create such havoc. It's almost, as long as they don't have as many as their opponent, they're going to be fine.
Yep.
And that's been a pretty good formula. But obviously, Bat changes everything they do, and she's really good.
Yep, no, she's a great leader. She just kind of is their glue, and everybody kind of looks to her on the floor when things aren't going right or when things are going well. She's the encourager. She brings them together. She's a really good leader. And I think if we had about 2 days where we could practice, I feel really good going into that game. But I didn't feel good practicing before that Northwest game, preparing for Mankato. That wasn't something that I felt like we could do because Northwest is a really good team. So I didn't think we could really overlook them to prepare for what Mankato was going to bring. And our girls, they worked really hard. They got us rushed a little bit more than we were used to, and we obviously turned the ball over a lot, but so did they, and just didn't make easy shots, honestly.
Is that the biggest thing? Because it seems like sometimes when you miss easy shots, it's not always, but you get rushed.
Yeah.
And was that the case? Because it seems like that's what they do best. They just take you out of the style you want to play and speed you up.
Yep. They rev it up just a little bit enough that when I'm going up the floor with the ball, they're making me go a little bit faster than I'm used to. That other girl's going maybe a little bit faster than what she's used to, so when I have to make that pass, she's going harder, I'm going harder, and then you turn it over. Or shooting a layup. I'm running the floor as harder than I normally do. Catch and finish, it's a little bit harder. So they just, they know they're going to mess up, and they just want you to mess up more than they're going to mess up. So it's kind of a unique style of basketball, but she's really got him playing really, really well.
And it's easy to probably say, well, just slow down.
Yeah.
But
you can't, because there's always two people coming. There's always two people running at the ball all the time, and so you can't. And then you got to cut really hard to get open because they guard really well. And so you're cutting really hard. There's two people guarding the ball, and then you're trying to catch the ball as you're running full speed and then make a layup.
Well, they got the best of you, and of course you look. They ran roughshod over the region. You played them as tough as anybody. We'll see how they do now that they're onto the Elite Eight in St. Joe, but certainly a team that's going to be a challenge. But as you look back, your first season, I know you said a little bit after the game, getting to 20 wins was a big deal. To keep that streak going at 13 in a row, longest in women's Division II basketball. even though you had a lot of players back, every season's different, and just for you being a head coach and adjusting to that, even though you've been a part of the program, did it? I mean, obviously you made the NCAA tournament. It was a great season, but was it everything you expected? I mean, I'm sure there were ups and downs that we never knew about, but did it kind of go as you thought it might be? And I know you got to be so proud of your team for accepting you as a coach and doing all the great things they did. Yeah,
for sure. No, it was I'd been with Tony almost as long as my parents, which is kind of a unique thing to think about. And moving to his seat, I learned a lot more about Tony for as long as I was with him. Yeah. Like, I learned a lot of things about him that I didn't know by just moving over into that seat. And so that's something that I think I really took away this year is understanding why he worked the way he worked because of being in that role. But I think I'm really proud of the girls, and I changed some things, and they really stepped up to that challenge, and we worked through those things, and we butted heads a little bit, and then we came back and we're like, okay, I think this is going to work. I think this is what we need to do, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really proud of everything that they did, and the way that we finished the season and the way that they just worked every single day. I couldn't have asked for a better group for sure. Well, and as you look, you're going to have a lot returning. There's going to be some that are departing and done with school and moving on with life, but you'll have a good core coming back. What's this team have to do now between the start of school and the start of practices and mid-November when you start playing games that count for real to build off of this year and obviously try to go deeper? Yeah, no, for sure. I think just not being satisfied with where we're at, and each girl individually needs to get better. And obviously we're going to try to bring some other kids in that hopefully can make our team better, but not being satisfied with where their game is at personally, and taking some ownership in that themselves to just really get in the gym and try to figure out how they can get better themselves, and then come back together and hopefully we're better as a whole. Sounds good. Well, I have certainly appreciated you. Great to work with. Not that Tony wasn't. I'm still grasping. You've been around Tony more than your parents. I don't know if that's good or not, honestly. But obviously he taught you well. You had a great first season, and looking forward to next year and more great things. But have really appreciated it. Congratulations. Thank you. It was a great season. It was a lot of fun to watch your team play, and I know speak for a lot of Tiger fans. I can't wait for next basketball season already. Thanks, Gerard. There you go. Talia Cars, head coach of the Fort Hays State women. Her first season, not a bad year. Keeps that 20-game winning streak going, and a trip to the NCAAs. Tiger Talk today brought to you by the HaysMed Orthopedic Institute, the most comprehensive orthopedic care in Western Kansas. Learn more at haysmed.com/orthopedics. We'll talk with men's coach Mark Johnson next on the Tiger Sports Network, built by PwC.
That was another legend on 99 KZ Country. And yes, before that, we had a brand new artist. Your home for today's stars and the legends. We play real country. I'm Teresa Trapp. Weather, news, sports, it's all here. We're on Facebook, and there is a listen live link at hayspost.com. Dial us in on your radio at 99.5 FM. KHAZ, real country. 99 KZ Country.
Left corner, guarded by Blair. Jab step, shoots a three, swish! Caleb Hammocky knocks in his second three. He has 13, 44-41. Biggest lead of the day for Fort Hays State on the Hammocky three. Just their second made three of the game. They're 2 for 11. They would only shoot one more, and the Tigers, boy, what a great game. Come up 1 point short, falling on a last-second shot to Minnesota Duluth in the opening round of the NCAAs. Fort Hays State Athletics invites you to join Tiger fans with a plan. If you're going to be drinking, always designate a sober driver. Joined by men's coach Mark Johnson. And kind of a lot of the same things. So we talked with Coach Cars a moment ago. Great season, and after the rawness of losing, and especially the way you lost on a last-second shot, kind of fades, and you have a chance to reflect and look back on the year. What a great season, and you guys made it to the NCAAs, and in typical Fort Hays State fashion this year, you fell behind. Looked like this could get really ugly against a team that went to the Elite Eight, but your guys found a way to get back in the game, and boy, it was right there. It didn't happen down the stretch, but a great game. It was kind of a microcosm of your season in a way, about just the way these guys went about their business.
Yeah, for sure. Very talented team in Duluth. I talked to the Mankato coach beforehand, and I just saw him, and we had talked, and about Duluth, and he said to beat him you're going to have to score, and I was like, well, that's not really an option. So we're going to have to figure out a way to do that somewhere else. And our guys did. We got off to a tough start, missed some shots you got to make around the rim, but kind of got it back to our style of game and just really kind of wore them down. Just possession after possession, kind of like our guys do, and got it close enough at halftime there, 31-27, to give us a chance. And then had chances and just, disappointing how it ended. Feel bad for our team. Northwest Missouri, it's kind of ironic that 2 or 3 days later, they lost the exact same way. They had a front end of 1-on-1 with 5 seconds with a 1-point lead. They missed, and the team came down and hit a shot at the buzzer to beat them to go to the lead 8. And that happens. I feel really bad for Elijah. He didn't get tight on that free throw. The ball went in and out. Getting tight on a free throw is you short arm, it hits the front of the rim, you miss it left, you miss it right. The ball just went in and out, and that happens at times. And then, we just kind of had a scramble there. And probably the biggest thing that really hurt us on that last possession was Trey was hurt and B fouled out with 8 seconds. So we had a couple guys out there that, kind of like we talked about at the beginning or some point in the season, maybe halfway through the season, we really want to finish the game with Caleb, Elijah, RJ, Trey, and B. Those are kind of the 5 guys that you can really count on to do the right things in the heat of the moment. Even when RJ was hurt, we would save him for the last 4 minutes of the game. Even when he's only playing 15 minutes, we'd still put him in, even though he hasn't really played. And we weren't able to put that group out there. And no excuses, but we just came up short and kind of didn't cover to the level we needed to. And it's hard in that moment. Everybody's panicking, and the Drew Blair kid, who's 3rd leading scorer in the country, everybody just gravitates to him and makes someone else beat him. And to his credit, he gave the ball up. A lot of times those guys don't give the ball up and try to do something miraculous, and he gave it up, and they hit the shot at the buzzer to obviously make it a very difficult loss.
No doubt about that. And you mentioned RJ. I thought he was remarkable. Most minutes he'd played since early in the year. He guarded Blair a lot when he was in there and just did a remarkable job.
Did a great job. Just totally took this game from him, frustrated him, made it hard on him. And again, people that have a bad back understand. He was hurting. He came out. We had to take him out, and he's got to put the thing on to keep the stem going. And just like, he probably should have been done, but he was like, I'll go out there one more time with about 5 minutes to go and keep playing. And that's like the kind of guys we have. It's important to win and demand winning, and just came up a little short.
It was a fun group to watch, certainly. And as you said, 23-8, made the tournament, had a good showing. And I think that's always when you obviously you want to win, but you don't want to go there in that first round and just get blitzed out of the building and then feel, well, maybe we didn't deserve it. Your team proved that they're very much a part of it, and you win that game, who knows what happens. But it was good to see them back in the tournament, and hopefully for all those guys coming back, now they've tasted it. That's some experience, and obviously got to fill some holes, but try to get back there next year and build off of it and maybe take it a step or two further.
Yeah, for sure. It's the way Division II does it. We were 19th in the country, and we had to play the number 10 team in the country in the first round. And I think of the other 7 teams in our region, 4 of them were in the top 11. It's just kind of, even last night for Northwest, here you are, number 4 team in the country, and you have to play the number 2 team in the country on the road in the round of 16. KU gets to play Sanford. So it's just a different thing that's never going to change, and we're in a great region. So you got to be really good and really tough if you want to compete in our league, and if you want to compete in our region. I think if you're not a top 20 team, I don't care what the rankings say, you have to be a top 20 team in the country to compete in our league in the upper half and compete in this regional. And I think our guys have been that the last 3 years.
Well, they got there, and as you said, you have to replace some guys, but you'll have a good nucleus coming back for next season, and hopefully something for these guys to all build on.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a good group coming back. Obviously losing B and Elijah and Jaheim are big losses, but got to maintain our toughness, maintain our athleticism, and hopefully improve our shooting somewhat.
All right, Mark. Well, as always, we appreciate it. Great fun run. It was just a pleasure to be a part of this and watch this team. And again, as time goes, I'm sure you guys will all appreciate what you accomplished this year, and looking forward to next season as always.
All right, thanks, Jordan.
There you go, Mark Johnson, coach of the Fort Hays State Tigers. Again, they finished 23-8. A reminder, no show next week. We'll be back on April 3rd, and for those listening, that'll be on KJLS. We have a Royals conflict as they start their season. So April 3rd, our next program, and we hope to see you then. That'll wrap it up. Our program brought to you by the Hayes Med Orthopedic Institute, Golden Belt Bank of Hayes and Ellis, BTI, and the Taco Shop. So long, everyone. Voice of the Tigers, Gerard Welbrock, inviting you to join us for Tiger Talk Wednesday afternoons at 12:10 on KAYS. The show is part of the weekly Tiger Club meetings live from the Robbins Center on the Fort Hays State campus and brought to you by Golden Belt Bank of Hayes and Ellis, the Hayes Med Orthopedic Institute, the Taco Shop, and BTI, your area John Deere dealer. That's Tiger Talk, live from Tiger Club Wednesdays at 12:10 on 94.3 FM and 1400 AM KAYS.